Hello everyone, GeneralApple here with the House in Fata Morgana playthrough part 17. And you may have noticed that my mic volume is slightly bit lower than usual. Reason is I reduced it a bit so there won't be any background noises, because I have noticed there are some background noises in my previous videos, so I just wanted to slightly reduce that. I believe, as far as I've tested, you can't really hear anything anymore, so that's really great. And I put my mic just a bit closer to me, so you won't hear it different in my usual volume. So hopefully it's comfortable. If it does, let me know in the comment. I really hope that's fine now, because I really didn't want to have any more background noises. And yeah, other than that, last episode in the House in Fata Morgana, we had some blast of information. And especially we learned about the witch, and we actually got to see her manifesting a bit of a physical form. Not all of it, not 100%, but like 60%, which is, it was quite frightening, to be honest, because we're starting to see her take a more active role in the story. And maybe one day we'll learn her motives, because I'm really interested to know more about her. But yeah, other than that, we only just started, so let's go and right where we left off last time. You must never reclaim your old selves. Become my loyal servants, always at my side. Oh god. It's already. And curse them with me, my dears. Oh. Eternal suffering on all their soul. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Who does she hate so fervently? Like, she always said it. Curse them all. Curse all of them. I've been waiting for them. Who are they? I really want to know. My consciousness, wavering like a ship at sea, is slowly drawn back to the surface. With each new breath, feeling gradually return to my feeling. I can hear the pattering of rain from somewhere, and the sound of crackling fire. Creak, creak, creak. Splart, splart, splart. Michael, it takes a moment for me to realize I'm in the very same spot where I first awoke. Well, yeah, but now there is blood all over the walls. I don't know how we got here, but I'm sitting in a rocking chair, hunched forward. My head feels like someone filled it with rocks, and I'm having difficulty focusing. My joints are creaking, and I feel like I'm going to vomit. A suffocating odor hangs over the room. What is this? Giselle. Giselle. Everything comes back to me all at once. That's right. I watched Morgana kidnapped her. I watched the witch drag her into the darkness, unable to reach her hand. Where are you, Morgana? I know you're here, cackling as you look down on me. Say something, witch. I will find you, and I will take her back. What on earth? There's a pool of liquid at my feet, rising just short of my ankle. It's sticky and uncomfortably warm. Every step I take makes splat, splat noises. This is blood. Dimension has taken on a very different face from when Giselle was leading me through its halls. Blood of unknown origin not only covers the floor, but also streams down the walls and drips from the ceiling. I'm speechless as I behold the dreadful scene. Every breath I take tastes and smells of rust. It's all so unreal, beyond my comprehension. All I can do is stare, aghast, feeling like I might pass out. Giselle, are you seeing this? The same twisted nightmare as me? An image of her floating alone in a vast sea of blood flashes through my mind. That vision kicks me into motion. I promise I will come for you. So please, just hang in there for a little longer. I begin walking, or more accurately, dragging my heavy feet forward. The constant splashing of blood against my ankles grate at my already taut nerve. Morgana told me to find my way to her, and I can think of only one place she would be. She and Giselle must be there. The stained glass window is splattered with blood too. It creates trails like stream of tears running down on the archangel's face. I give the window a brief glance before making my way to the door leading to the observation tower. However, why won't it open? There shouldn't be a lock. So why? Lustrous black chains seal the metal door. I can recall no such obstruction present during either my life or my time here after. What on earth is going on in this house? No, that's not important right now. What matters is making it through this door. Damn it. I pull and I push, but the chains won't give an inch. They feel sturdy enough that I probably couldn't cut through them either. There has to be some way. I consider giving up here and scouring the rest of the house, but I'm convinced the tower is my best chance. The fact that it's sealed now when it hadn't been before feels like a challenge more than a deterrent. I trace a length of chain with my hand, and at the end of it, I find a peculiar looking lock into which the ends of several chains have been fed. There are 3 keyholes? Morgana fashioned a custom lock just for this? I need to find 3 keys to open the door then. But I have no idea where to begin my search. I lived here for more than 10 years, and yet I feel like I stepped into a strange land. No, it's not the same house. Searching blindly is only going to waste time, and the longer I take, the more danger she's in. I met someone before who had a key. Right, the painting. It was before I had reclaimed myself, when I was exploring the mansion alone. Think, Michael, who was it? The painting. But we don't know what that painting was, or who was it in the painting. Okay, it's still a landscape. Like everything else in the house, the painting is covered in blood. That depicts a serene rural landscape, only makes the contrast that much grimmer. I remember talking to this painting, assuming I wasn't hallucinating. I have a question for you. Are you awake? Please wake up. Oh, it did. The man in the painting. Ah. Can you hear my voice? Please say something. You reside in the house like the witch, don't you? You've been here with her all this time, haven't you? Then you must know how to get into the observation tower. About the 3 keys that I need to open the lock. I need to get into the tower. Please, tell me where I can find the keys. Say something, damn it. Answer my question. Someone there? What? What's the matter? I feel kind of strange. Did witch do something to me? Please get a hold of yourself. Everything is all red. I can't stand it. I don't remember using that color. I reach my hand up to try wipe as much of the blood off as the canvas as possible, but I can't even smear it with my sleeve, let alone get it off. You're wasting your time, but it's the thought that counts. Anyway, you had a question for me? Go on, I'm listening. I guess the painting isn't on the witch side then. Well, you can be sure. The door to the observation tower has been locked. I need to gather 3 keys, I think. That's my assumption since the lock has 3 keyholes. Do you know of any such keys? And if so, could you tell me where they might be? Keys? Please stay with me. You're the only one I can ask for help. Oh my god, keys. I'm guessing this is probably some way, probably in a way connected to her past? Ooh, her past. You know, if the events the witch always cursing about. What happened between her and those 3 men? What happened between them? The keys are probably with the 3 of them. 3 shadows. You must have seen them. 3 men shadows. Find them. 3 men for 3 doors, right? We had Mel, we had the Beast, and we had Jacopo. Wow, how do they relate to the story? Watch yourself. They are likely to trust you easily. Depths of their sins grow greater the further you go. Visit them in order. In order. The first one probably won't be a problem. So tell me something. You're Michael, aren't you? What? I've wanted to apologize to you for so long. Whoa. Wait. What do you mean? Do you know me? Did you? What did you want to apologize for? Tell me, please. Could you be? But why? How? Even when everything else is finished, I'm going to need to visit that painting again. But now, I have other things to do. The painting gave me a hint about where I can find the keys. I don't know anything this Fata Morgana has with the 3 men. I never asked her about herself after all. So maybe I'm going to end up having to do more than simply take Giselle back. Has our involvement with the witch caused us to be swept up into the twisted maelstrom of fate? Regardless, I need to get to work. The painting said to visit them in order. I assume he was referring to the order I entered the 3 doors. Yeah, I was about to say that. Okay, let's save just in case. We'll screw up here. And Michael also seemed to know who the painting was, but he didn't, tell us, so... go to the den, go downstairs to the cellar. No, the cellar is the Beast, the garden is the first one, and the den is the last. So we need to go to the Rose Garden, because this is where Mel's story was. Right? We got cellar, den... Yeah, we're going to the Rose Garden. This is where we first saw the story begin. I make my way to the Rose Garden. The corridor leading there is a mess, and the wooden door is rotting away. I can smell the flowers on the other side. Everything is different from when I was alive. From when Giselle planted and raised that single rose. I really hope we get to see each of the men's story. I really want to know Morgana's story. She's such an interesting character. A scene from past spreads out before me. The field of once proudly flourishing roses is now withered and gray. Knowing how beautiful it had once been only makes it much more inspiring. A bitter breeze brushes past me. Solitude hangs over the garden like a thick fog, eating away at me. This isn't what I wanted. Someone get me out of here. Oh God, tell me that I'm not a bad one here. Oh, we've seen his shadow before. We've seen them. I remember now. Wow, it was so long ago. I actually forgot, but now I remembered. He's saying the exact same sentence, and that's why I remembered. A young man's shadow tends off to the side, muttering lifelessly to himself. I recognize his voice. Do you have the key? The boy and I have never met, but I feel like I know him quite well. Like, we have been acquainted for many years. I know how polite and mild-mannered he is. I know how kind and how vulnerable, how human his heart is. However, very little of that boy seems to remain. This isn't what I wanted. Oh God, please answer me. Someone get me out of here. Tell me that I'm not the bad one here. Answer me, Mel Rhodes. I know that's you. Okay, so it is Mel? Huh? As soon as I said the shadow name, it turned to face me. I still can't make out much detail, but he seems slightly less tenuous now. Who are you? How do you know my name? My name is Michael. I once lived here, in this mansion. Michelle. I know that name. By the way, I'm pronouncing it differently, but it's the same name. It's Michael. I know that name. I know it very well. But something's not right. You look different from the Michelle I remember. I'm not the Michelle you know. Our name simply sounds the same. Oh, that makes sense. she would never come to see me. I have a question for you. Do you have the key to the observation tower? I do. Would you please give it to me? I need to get into the tower. And what do you need there? There's something I need to find. That's all? It may not sound like much to you, but it means a great deal to me. You're not one of her prisoners then? No. I came here of my own will. To find this person. Exactly. Then maybe you can help me. Help you how? Set me free. Convince her to release me from this place. Oh man. His soul is stuck here. I'm begging you. The anguish emanating from the boy's shadow is so thick it causes me to recoil. There's the thread of dark desperation in his voice. Has he been imprisoned here for hundreds of years like Giselle? Promise me, you'll get me out of here. Am I even equipped to judge whether that would be a good decision or not? All I know of him is his time in Dimension during the era of roses. I know nothing else of his life. I don't even know if I would be capable of keeping such a promise. Do I have the strength to save anyone other than her? Do you absolutely need the key? You won't agree to help me without it, will you? What? I dropped it. Over there. Huh? The boy is pointing to a thick bramble of roses. Despite the flowers themselves being wilted, the thorns are still sharp. It was an accident, I swear. But I didn't want to scratch up my arm, so I left it there. It's not my fault there are so many thorns. I really want to hit this boy. Why couldn't you just say so? Because I thought if I didn't have the key that you wouldn't help me. There's only so much I can do, regardless of whether you have the key. I cannot promise you anything, nor can I be the judge of you. I see. I do not have enough information to make such a decision. Cheap promises and superficial kindness will only serve to destroy the both of us. Now, if you will excuse me, I'm going to retrieve the key. What? You'll never get out of those thorns. I don't care if it's the bottom of the ocean. I will have that key. You're wasting your time. I approach the bramble, reaching out for it with my right hand. From behind me, I can sense the boy watching. First, I attempted to spread the tangled thorn-ridden stems so I can put my arm in without injuring myself, but they seem to be made of iron rather than plant, and my efforts proved mostly fruitless. The only opening is barely large enough to fit an arm in and resembles the toothy mouth of a beast. Looking around the garden, I can't find anything that looks remotely useful. I guess my only option is reaching in. That's not going to stop me. I lean down, inserting my right arm into the thorny cavern. Immediately, they begin ripping at my sleeve and gashing at my flesh. It's a test of fate. Or I guess a test of willpower. Blood spills down my arm. I am long since dead, no longer human, but the pain is still agonizing, still very much real. Giselle, she doesn't bleed, she doesn't feel pain. And I'm not the same as her then? That doesn't matter right now. Focus on getting the damn key. Streams of crimson spread through the steel-like tangle, gnawing at my arm like a ravenous animal. Where the hell is the key? The thorny stems are twisted, a layer so thick I can't see inside at all. As I dig around blindly, I start losing feeling in my arm. It's an endless deluge of pain. Hey, cut it out. You're going to lose your arm. I will not stop until I have the key. Don't ask me for help. I wasn't even considering it. I collect what remains of my gradually fading sensation and focus it into my fingers, praying even one of them will brush against the key. Damn it. But as much as I search, as much as I dig, I found nothing so as much resembling a key, which means it must be deeper than I can reach from my arm. Even so, I cannot give up. Hey, Please, be quiet right now. I need to focus. I'm sorry. I do have the key, actually. Dude. Oh my god. You what? I'm so sorry. It didn't look like you were willing to help, even if I gave it to you, so... Plus, she told me not to give it to anyone for any reason. Wholesale so I can beat you. Bro, what a kid. I didn't mean you any ill will. You most certainly did. I'll give you the key, so please have mercy. Trembling in fear, the boy's shadow sticks out a hand, holding a key. The arm I used to dig through the thorns is so bloody and gashed I can barely look at it, but it does still function. And so I take the key from him with my right hand. First key achieved. Why couldn't you use your other hand? That's gross. That's the idea. You're kind of a jerk, you know. That's a laugh coming from you. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? I know. I'm sorry, really. But hey, you're alive, so no big deal, right? But wait, can you actually say either of us are alive? Huh, I don't even know anymore. I do appreciate you giving me the key though, seeing as it seemed to be rather important to you too. Hey, is this person you want to get back really worth going through all of this for? She is. She's the one person who ever loved me. And she's waiting for me. I see. You know, I had someone that meant a lot to me too. My sister. Which one? Which? The one with the flaxen hair, like me? Like me? If you happen to see her, do something nice for her, please. Alright, I remember the white-haired girl was also his half-sister. That, I would say, is your responsibility. Yeah, you're right. But I'll keep it in mind. Thanks. In the tale I witnessed, the boy pushed his sister away. For an understandable reason, admittedly. But now he seems to bear no grudge for her. Did something else happen between them? Even if it did, I don't have time to ask about it. I'll be on my way. Alright, take care. There are 2 more keys. Watch out though. They're not the most friendly people. And they'll probably be even more enraged locked up like this. I appreciate the warning. If only someone like you had shown up sooner and taken the keys from us. Goodbye. After bidding me farewell, the boy phantom dissipates into the shadows of the rose garden. I wonder if he's gone back to mindlessly muttering his regrets. I should get going. Okay, let's save. I have a bit of a theory, actually. I think we are in some kind of a made-up timeline that Morgana herself created. And I think that once we defeat her, we can go back to the original one. At least that's the way it seems to me, by how the characters are talking and the incoherency with the timelines. That's just my, my opinion. Might be wrong about this. Well, surely. I've been wrong so far about everything, so I'm pretty sure I'm wrong about this one as well. So yeah, then it's Jacopo. We need to go down to the cellar where the beast was. I descend the stairs, opening the cellar door. The first time I visited this room, the smell of blood from within was nearly suffocating. Now, the entire house reeks of it, and I've started to go numb to the odor. Yet now, there's no one here. Am I in the wrong place? I begin exploring the cellar, hoping to maybe find the key hidden away or abandoned somewhere. As I reach my hand out to investigate one area. Yeah, there's gonna be a jump scare. Yeah, I'm not falling for this one again, kid. I already jumped once. I'm not falling the second time. A shadow leaps out of the thick darkness. It's so swift, I have no time to react. My body freezes in place. There is Yukimasa. A shadow stands before me, holding the tip of a blade mere inches from my face. A key. You have a key. I do, yes. Cold sweat trickles down my back. My voice is shaking and there's no hiding it. The shade appears to be glaring at me, though I cannot make out its face. After a few seconds, it withdraws its blade. Let me see it. The boy's key. Did he give it to you? In the rose garden. Yes. Are you two acquaintances? How could that be, though? You are from completely different era and country. Who are you? No, never mind. Who you are is irrelevant to me. Bruh. Are you human now? If you're speaking of my nature, then no is the only answer I can give you. You didn't kill me, though. If you wanted, you could easily skewer me where I stand. If that's what you want, I'd be happy to oblige. What did you come here for? For your key. I came to ask if you would give it to me. You mean to open that door? I need to get into the tower, yes. I see. Take it. What? Really? The man's shadow tosses the key at my feet. I'm not quite sure what to think. I didn't expect him to give it up so readily. What? Take it. I won't stab you in the back while you're bending over. I thought you were supposed to hold on to this at all costs. I no longer have any reason to guard that key. In the past, I might have severed your head from your shoulders the moment you mention it, though. What's the point in the past? What point in the past? That's a question I wish I knew the answer to. Hey, do you know why I'm here? Where this place is? When it is? Why can't I get out of here? What's happened to me? Tell me. I have no idea what's going on. Not a single goddamned idea. Neither do I. Get out. Take the key and get out of here. Get out! I can't bring myself to say anything to the enraged shadow, so I follow his command, picking up the key and departing the cellar. Oh wow, that was insanely quick. Now I'm even more certain that she actually dragged him to some sort of a limbo. And she tortures their spirit. I thought I was dead for a second. This makes two, though. What could have happened between these people? The painting mentioned a past with them, and Morgana spoke of the wicked men she cursed. Does that mean they did something awful enough to earn Morgana's spite? Well, that was quite obvious. Right now, though, I must push onward. If I'm not mistaken, the final key should be in that room. The room with... the billiards table. What is billiards anyway? I should get moving. Once I have this key, I can get into the observation tower. I'm almost certain Morgana is waiting for me there, with Giselle. So I gather up my resolve and hurry to the last room, not wanting to take even a second longer than necessary getting her back. There we are. I can hardly believe my eyes when I step into the den. In the middle of the room is a large rectangular table. Several bowls roll across its surface, and perched on one corner, looking down at the floor, is her. Giselle. Giselle? The question of why she's here never crosses my mind. All I feel is elation to see her once more. There's no room for anything else in my head. I run over to her, put my hand on her shoulder. Thank goodness you're alright. And turn her towards me. Oh, Jesus Christ, that scared me. What? Giselle? Giselle. I shake her, causing her hair to droop lifelessly. There's not a trace of light in her unmoving eyes. Why, Giselle, why? Say something, Giselle. Anything, please. This can't be. You can't be. You can't be. My mind goes blank. I can catch my breath. The world is hazy. Why, Giselle? Why did I have to find her like this? Why? I swore I would do anything. I swore I would never lose you again. No, this can't be. A thought crosses my dazed, despair-wrought mind. It's probably nothing more than vain hope, but... Not a drop of blood spilled from my breast. Yeah, that's a phantom. That's right, she doesn't bleed. So this can't be her. This isn't her. Or maybe Morgana has the power to alter Giselle's very nature? Kill her with a flick of her wrist? No, I don't even want to think about it. There's no hope found that path. All I can do is pray, beg for her to still be alive. Or if alive isn't the right word, herself. My prayers bring me back to reality, which is then when I realize there's something hard pressed against the back of my head. I hear a harsh metallic clink. What? Thank you, Jacopo. A piercing bang rips through the air as I drop to the hard floor. My ears are ringing painfully. Through the cloud of smoke and confusion, I see a man's silhouette. Huh. Missed. It takes several moments for me to recognize the object in his hand as a gun. Not only because it's draped in shadow, but because I've never seen one with my own eyes. Had I not witnessed what they were capable of through the stories, I would not have understood how terrifying they were. Not a problem, though. I'll finish you off with the next one. Now you hold still, boy. Start running around like a rat, and I can't guarantee your painless death. Wait, hold on a second. What are you trying to kill me for? Because you make too much goddamn noise, that's why. Don't tell me you're the one who... What? I turn my gaze towards the large table. Giselle isn't there. It must have been an illusion after all. The realization sends a wave of relief through me. I still have a gun in my face, though. Curious man you are. Does the table warrant your attention more than me? I have a request. Could you give me the key in your possession? That's all I need, and then I'll leave and stop making rackets. I'm not sure you understand your predicament, boy. Because if you think you're in any position to be asking favors, you're dumber than you look. First off, I don't even know what key you're talking about. I don't believe that. The other two had keys. You're telling me they gave you their keys? It sounds like they really do know each other. See for yourself. I believe you should recognize these. Are you collecting them to enter the tower? Are you going to see Morgana? There seems to be a hint of tension in the man's voice. Though I can't see his face, I can sense the waves forming within him. I press myself for either rejection or hot lead. But the apparition gives me neither. Take me with you. What? You have the other two keys, don't you? Then you can open the door. Bring me to the witch. Wait, slow down. What are you planning to do when you see her? What do you think? She has to die, I assume. Oh, he disappeared? He's gone. She has to... What? What was he trying to say? Third key achieved. On the floor, when the shade stood, is a new key. Curious though I am about his last word. This makes 3. I have all the keys now. Are you trying to rile me up, Morgana? Are you enjoying yourself up there? Showing me this phantom and watching me squirm? Just you wait, I'm on my way. I give the room a brief once over before making my way back to the chapel. Okay, we achieved all the keys. They all look differently. Okay, let's save once again. The keys fits perfectly in the opening on the lock, and when I insert the last one, it clicks open. The chain sealing the door falling to the floor. They're waiting beyond this door at the top of the stairs. I start pondering what I can even do in the face-off against Morgana, which sends a nervous shudder down my spine. I'm not going back down, regardless, but she is a witch, and I'm mere human. Formerly human. I'm not a master swordman, nor do I wield a gun. I have nothing at all with which to fight her. I still have to confront the witch, though, no matter what. As laughably reckless, as foolish as I may be, I have no other option. I place my hand on the door, preparing to climb the tower where I once spent my last breath. Giselle locked safely away in the chambers at the top. The tower where I first met the witch. No hesitation. Oh, so Michael met the witch first there. Interesting. I don't think I knew about that. This is the sound of blood streaming down the stairs echoes off the stone walls. Although I have begun growing numb to the house's otherworldly ornamentation, the sight of a seemingly endless river of blood flowing down a spiral staircase sent a chill through me. Every step I climb makes a splat splat noise. When I reach a window, I look out to see a churning reddish black fog. No, this brings me back. You climbing these stairs alone, just like old times. Morgana. I waited so long for someone like you to show up. Someone with enough despair to resurrect me. Give her back. But now I don't see it in you. I don't feel one bit of that intense hopelessness anymore. Give her back. And here I had thought we were cut from the same cloth. Morgana. Yes, I'll give her back, if you can make it to me without losing yourself. I will not give up. It doesn't matter what you do. Looking up, I can't see how far the stair extended. It's just a gaping blackness, so I have no way of knowing for sure whether I'm getting any closer. Around and around and around and around. Beneath me, the blood river traces the same path in reverse. I start to wonder if the staircase even does end. If I'm not just eternally retracing my own steps. But I continue climbing regardless. It's all I can do. Put one foot in front of the other and hope I make it to the top. Morgana. What is this place? What did you do to it? What is it? Why is the mansion you lived in for a decade, of course? You look at this and tell me it's the same house. What's with the blood everywhere? And the three shadows. Now, my dear. No need to raise your voice. And you're being impolite, one question at a time. Answer me! What is this place? That's immaterial. Even if I were to give you an answer you found satisfying, what would that knowledge do for you? Your objective is to reach the top of the stairs and rescue Giselle. Nothing more, nothing less. Isn't that right? Or, by chance, have you taken an interest in me? Despite never once asking me about myself before. My gut tells me that without knowing what this place is, without even the briefest glimpse at its nature, I won't be able to safely get her back. Without knowing what I'm up against, I don't stand a chance. Please tell me about this mansion, Morgana. About yourself. What are you, Morgana? A witch. No, that's not what I'm asking. Why do you have the powers you do? What are you? Yes, I get it. Humans feel the need to attach names to things, that phenomena they don't understand. I understand that feeling very well, which is why I'm sure you'll be rather disappointed when I reveal the truth. What do you mean? What I mean is I'm an ordinary human. That's not possible. You expect me to believe a human created this illusion? Then you are saying I'm a magician or a wizard like you might see in a fairy tale. I would believe that over you being human. Think back then, would you? Recall our time together. Did I ever once use magic? Did I control fire or wind? Did I create illusion? Well, if you literally talk to someone while not having a physical body, then yes, that's literally magic. No, I did none of that. Because I could not. To you, when you were alive, I suppose you could say, I was not but a simple ghost. A rather mischievous, but otherwise powerless spirit, and I was nothing more to those three men either. The witch Morgana was never anything but a wretched phantom haunting this old house. But then, how do you explain this? Michael, my dear, we're not the same beings we once were. We're different than we were in the realm of light, the era of the living. You figured that much out though, haven't you? That you're already dead. Yes, I know. I know I couldn't possibly be alive. Yet, you still view this world through the lens of the living. You make no effort to see it as the land of the dead. Tell me, why would you think that the realm of the living and dead are the same? Though the worlds behind each door were so vibrant, the mansion itself never had any color. They were the memories of the past, of the land of the living, of times forever lost to us. Our lives have already come to an end, my dear. Every last soul within this world is dead. This is the world that lies beyond the end. It is my world. This is the afterlife. Why get caught in the minutiae? Minute, I think that was the word. None of us has a future. So what reason is there for you to desperately obsess over taking Giselle back? Just like you, she is long since dead. I don't think that's true. I think she's lying. It's some sort of a limbo. Nah, she's a walking corpse. It's nothing I didn't already know, but hearing her say it, it's like a kick in the gut, to the gut. Dead or alive, she still lives on within this house, and my spirit finds its way back too. Why then should I not wish for her to have a future, no matter what form it may take? No matter if my choices erase her from this world entirely. Having seen what lies beyond the door in her heart, what happened in all those hundreds of years, I could never let her remain here with you, trapped in this world bereft of light, drifting aimlessly for all eternity. Well said, Michael. Yeah, even if there are ghosts right now, you really want their spirit to pass on to a better place instead of being stuck in this horrendous mansion. So determined you feel the need to raise your voice. But you're not going to budge on that point, I see. I ask you this again, Morgana. Please tell me about yourself. How did you become a witch? How did you end up attached to this house? I want to hear your story. You honestly want to know about me? I actually really do. I do now. Yes. But not for me. For her, right? Don't be shy. It's the truth, isn't it? Besides, if you did say it was for me, not her, I might die of laughter. As you wish. You have seen many tales of people's lives since arriving here, and now you shall see mine. Though I ask you this, do not let go of my hand. No, she didn't say that. Will you writhe in despair with me? Will you endure maddening agony for me? Will you know pain enough to make you howl? Will you face despair again and again and again? As I said before, if that is what you want from me, let me tell you something though, my dear. It will not be easy to watch as you imagine. Now that you reclaimed yourself, you will be able to feel all my pain as it were your own, to resonate with it. Resonate with it? You no longer have your little guardian with you either. My guardian, she was always protecting me. You'll have a wonderful time, I'm sure. It's a tale that could have only taken place in the era of miracles and spirituality. Wondrous and weird, senseless and stupid. Hopefully tragic. Will you watch it with me? As soon as the final word left her mouth, I am engulfed in darkness, not even given a moment to brace myself. The tower stairs crumble beneath me. My feet have nowhere to go. As I'm being battered by the roaring blood river, my consciousness melds with another. I carry within me the child of God. That is where it all began. The words of one foolish woman determined the course of my entire life. Before I was even born, my fate was decided. Did her claim come from fate? Was it her way of escaping reality? Did she do it for money or fame? I don't know. I have been visited by an angel of the Lord. The village where she had lived suffered from years of poor harvest. It had been months since the last rain, and all the villagers prayed desperately to be blessed with succor. I am with a child, though I have known no man. So proclaimed the pregnant woman in the midst of the drought. And on the day of my birth, the very moment I let out my first cry, a heavy rain fell down upon the village. The storm quenched the parched earth, nourishing the crops and saving the village. The villagers were astounded, for they had thought the drought would never end. As plump drops of rain poured down upon the village, they gathered around the newborn me in exultation. Ah, she's the child of God. Perhaps there would be more wonder in claiming I had magical powers. Perhaps it would make a better story if I were to say there were higher forces involved. But all these years later, here is what I truly think. I was nothing more than a fluke, an improbable stroke of luck, an unbelievably fortunate accident for my mother and the village, and an indescribably unfortunate accident for myself. I am with child who I have known no man? Ha! As if that's even possible. Maybe she had fooled around with a man who had gone and abandoned her, and she spouted those lies to convince herself it had never happened. None of the village men made any claims to be my father. Perhaps he was someone else's husband, and as such, he couldn't reveal himself, as an adultery is a sin in the eyes of God. The girl they were praising as the child of God was indeed not more than ordinary daughter of a wretched woman. At the time, though, I thought differently. I believed my mother's words, convinced I was a saint. And it gave me a sense of duty, of purpose, rather than superiority. As the daughter of God, I believed it was my responsibility to help anyone in need. So every day I prayed. I asked my Father what I could do, what I was meant to do. Not everyone is equally good. However, will always be someone who lends their ear to the devil whispers. One man claimed I was the daughter of a charlatan. He shouted for all to hear, "If you really are the child of God, then perform a miracle for us." Could he have been any more unreasonable? Miracles are neither magic nor parlor tricks. They are realized through the power of faith. A lowly villager has no place demanding God prove his own divinity. It is the height of arrogance. But the man refused to heed my words. So, having no other choice, I contemplated what I could do to show him I was indeed a saint. And blood was the spark of my inspiration. Michael, the time when I had lived and the time where you lived were not so different. Our views and belief about the world are very much the same. So you should understand that in our time, blood was seen as unclean. It was a dreadful thing, ridden with diseases, which is why we drained the blood from animals and purified the flesh before consuming it. But being a saint, my blood would have been different. Like the blood of the saints who came before me, mine would be blessed. I believe it would be able to cleanse people's impurities. For my demonstration, I chose an elderly woman afflicted with a terrible disease. She was on her deathbed, and no one thought she would live longer than another day of 2. The woman was overjoyed when I came to visit her. Sincerely, believing me to be a holy servant of the Lord, she gathered all the strength she could muster to climb from her bed and kiss my feet. I felt an intensely deep love for this woman. Placing my hand upon her cheeks, I said with all kindness in my heart, "My beloved sister, partake of my blood." The woman agreed without a glimpse of hesitation, and so I prickled the tip of my finger with a knife and let the blood drip into her mouth. Within 3 days, her health had improved enough for her to get out of bed unassisted. Seeing that, no man in the village doubted my powers any longer. In the fact, the man who had accused me of being the daughter of a charlatan was subsequently punished for his sins. He received much deserved retribution for challenging the daughter of God, for mocking her. But of course, being a saint, I forgave that man. He, in turn, repented and changed his ways, worshipping me as the true child of God. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was ecstatic, utterly elated. I felt like I was on top of the world and reveled in it. The villagers showered me with adulation. They revered me, the daughter of God. Anyone who didn't was punished. And on top of that, my blood could cause miracles. Tell me, do you look down on me for feeling the way I did? The actual child of God would never let herself be consumed by such base emotion, would she? But if you would give me a chance, I would like to explain myself. I was but a young girl at the time, and to a child, her mother is the world. Anything she says is the absolute truth. So when my mother claims so happened to coincide with a lucky miracle, my young mind was set in stone. I was a saint. My blood could heal the sick, and nothing would convince me otherwise. After all, I was but a girl of 6 years old. It is not my place to decide whether my blood truly had miraculous powers or not. If you think it did, then it did. And if you think it was all happenstance, oh god, what a difficult word, then so it was. Miracles are brought by fate. So the elderly woman who was healed was done so by the power of our own belief. Baseless hope and desire can at times make otherwise impossible reality. You understand just how major role religion played in our time, don't you, Michael? Especially as someone whose life was taken from him in the name of God. And you understand how powerful word of mouth can be as well, don't you? It didn't take long for the word of the miracle-performing child of God to spread. Travelers from faraway lands came to our village, all in search of aid. Driven by a mixture of elation and duty, I gave my blessing unto every pilgrim who sought them. I gave them blood, yes. My young hands were perpetually covered in wounds. Running out of skin on my fingers, I cut the back of my hands, my palms, my wrists. Before long, they had turned into swollen, carved up, black and red horrors, and so I kept them wrapped in cloth at all times. The only time I uncovered them was to give blood to those who sought it. My lacerated hands were, in no uncertain terms, gruesome and unsightly. But the believers who came to see me all wept at my selfless sacrifice, and so I came to cherish those wounds. There were some for whom no miracle took place. Whenever that would happen, the villagers would come out and say, "The daughter of God is not to blame. You simply lack sufficient faith." Thus, such incidents had no negative effect on my reputation as a saint. For 3 years, I continued doling out blessings. One day, while I was offering my prayer, my mother let slip her discontent. "Why must you hand out miracles for nothing? Why must you give strangers grace? Why should we be getting compensated? We deserve remuneration?" Wow, I've never seen this word before. There's so many new words for me to learn here. Remuneration, okay. If we charge just a little bit for each blessing. Truly, she's thinking like modern times. We could be living so much more comfortably. Pay the tithe. I was dumbfounded. How could the mother of a saint say such things? Helping people was my divine calling, and she expected payment? I nearly wept, hearing my mother preoccupied with such worldly desires. So I explained to her how important this work was. I taught her that we were not covet material wealth, that we were to dedicate our lives to the service of our fellow men. "You're right, my dear saint," she said, understanding. And I believed her. I fell asleep that night, convinced she truly understood, and there would be no more problems. But the next day, I was sold off. Men I had never seen before carried me by the arms and tossed me into a carriage. Confused and panicked, I stuck my head out, searching for my mother. Off in the shadows of the house, I saw her with a strange man, accepting a bag of coins. The carriage rocked back and forth as it rolled along a dirt road, shaking and bouncing within it. I struggled with overwhelming grief and despair. It was, perhaps, the first time in my life I had felt such a powerful emotion. I didn't know what I felt so much despair over, though. Obviously, it was over my present predicament, but I wasn't sure what hurt most. Was it that I'd been pawned off like a slave? Was it that my mother, the mother of a saint, had been blinded by money? Was it that the villager had watched in silence as a disciple of the Lord was thrown into a carriage? Or was it that I, daughter of God, lamented my misfortune like a mortal? I decided it was a trial. My father, the Lord God, was testing my worthiness of being his daughter. So I choked back my urge to cry and sat there in silent contemplation. For almost 3 weeks was I rocked around in the carriage. The coachman treated me well enough, but I'm certain it was only because he didn't want his precious cargo dying before he could deliver it. He did not by any means think of me as the child of God. The 3rd week, the carriage arrived at the city. It was much larger than the village I had grown up in, with many, many more people crowding the streets. Something about them felt different too. They all spoke in a tongue foreign to me, which is when I realized I was far, far away from home. I was delivered to the lavishly decorated mansion of the Regent Lord. Brightly colored flowers bloomed wildly in the garden as guests laughed and ate extravagant meals. And in addition to them, there were probably 4 times as many slaves moving about the grounds, getting a range of looks from everyone we passed, from smartly dressed men to scrawny, emaciated servants. I was led to the Lord's chamber. The Lord was surrounded by beautiful women. Perhaps they were slaves, or perhaps they were prostitutes. I couldn't tell. Among them were some girls hardly older than me. Ugh. They all wore thin sweats of cloths, barely covering themselves at all. The Lord looked at me up and down, and with a large laugh he said, "Welcome, daughter of God. You'll be performing miracles for me now." "Miracles are not something to be performed for one single person benefit," I replied. Shocked and furious, he had just said something so utterly blasphemous. In response he said, "I bought you. You are my property. You have no right to an opinion." But I would not have any of it. I entreated him to give me up his indulgent lifestyle and devote himself to the service of God. Oh, to give up his indulgence. But the more I pleaded, the deeper the creases on his face grew. Thinking back on it now, it was hardly surprising. A 9-year-old girl was scolding the most powerful man in the region. I believed it was my duty, and that I was only doing what was right, but he surely saw it as incredible arrogance. So the Lord forced his will upon me. He bound my hands and feet and cut me without my permission, filling a goblet with my blood and passing it around to his guests. A saint's blood and good fortune to all. That was when I realized the Lord was only interested in the approval of others. He reveled in their envy as they pranced about showing off his curious new toy. Me. He didn't need any miracles. Neither he nor any of the guests were afflicted with disease or misfortune. They were all richly blessed. Every time he threw a banquet, he drained me of my blood. It became nearly impossible to find a spot on either of my arms that wasn't swollish, reddish black yash. And soon, because my arms weren't providing enough blood for him, the cutting spread to my legs. I lived in a haze of half-consciousness. Honestly, I'm amazed he didn't kill me, though perhaps the Lord was simply taking care not to take more than my body could spare. Watching the wealthy partygoers laugh and sip my blood through bleary eyes, another wave of despair came over me. My miracles, my blood, were not meant to be an appetizer at a feast. They were meant for the sick and the poor. But despite my wishes, the Lord persisted to squeeze me dry that day. Dry day in and day out for his own enjoyment. For a while, I was convinced it was all God's test, that it was part of his plan for me, his daughter, that if I could make it through this trial, I would be allowed to go back to helping people, that men would celebrate my success, envy me, worship me, that sinners would face punishment, that divine retribution would be delivered unto all who had wronged me, a saint. With each passing day, my spirit grew more twisted. Would anyone have believed that scarred and bloodied girl tied up on the floor in the banquet hall wasn't saint? Unlikely. This was no charitable gathering, but an unholy Sabbath. Perhaps it was caused by my corrupted spirit. Perhaps it was my heart's way of crying for help. Or perhaps it was the devil giving me my witch mark. But no matter what the cause, during one of the bloody banquets I underwent a transformation. I was half conscious as usual when one of the guests pointed at me and shouted something. His face went pale as if he were afraid, which I found quite curious. The Lord then approached me, grabbing me by the hair and lifting my head. He yelled something, but I was too far gone to be able to make out what he was saying. Suddenly, I found myself released from my bonds. But my body had grown so weak from being tied for so long, I didn't have the strength to hold myself up, and so I collapsed to the floor. I was still trying to figure out what was happening when the Lord drew a sword, raising it high above his head. His words in that moment reached me with perfect clarity. "You're a damned witch wearing a saint's skin." A witch? Why was he calling me a witch? I was the holy daughter of God. I had certainly never made a pact with the devil. What could have given him that idea? What was in store for me now? Had God performed some kind of miracle for him? Dozens of thoughts and questions floated through my mind as death hung over me. I couldn't comprehend anything, and so I didn't feel any fear or anger at my impending death. I was simply curious. What had happened to me? But before I had a chance to find that answer, the Lord swung down his blade. Wow. Wait, is that the end of the wish's tale? I thought it would involve your man or something. Without warning, without any time to prepare, the darkness drains away. And a second later, I crash into the stairs, hard. Right in my ear, I can hear the of the river of blood. The word fades in and out of view, giving way to a very real images of past I've never lived. I can practically feel the fire in the eyes of that mad blood banquet's guest. My vision distorted, I can't regain my focus. Whose blood is this streaming down the stairs? Is it her? Is it mine? Who am I? A saint? A witch? Is what I'm seeing through a lens of clarity or madness? Wait, no, I'm not her. I'm Michael, no one else. It hurts, doesn't it? It's hard to breathe. Your chest is on fire. Your vision is blurry. It's dark. It's lonely. It's scary. It's frustrating. It's disheartening. It's exasperating, isn't it? What you're feeling is exactly the pain I felt. I reach my hand out in a plea for help, which, when I see something, I can hardly believe. Whoa. Both of my arms are covered in gashes, blood flowing through them without end. The raw flesh beneath my skin has been exposed to the open air. All I can bring myself to do is scream. The pain, her horrible past, is doing everything in its power to break me. That 9-year-old girl, sickening experiences, are twisting and constricting and crushing me. Why is this happening to you? Are you really that slow, my dear? You're empathizing with my pain. You're just that kind-hearted, Michael. You said you wouldn't give up, didn't you? That you would make your way to me. Then surely this won't be enough to do you in. Of course it won't. Mustering up every last bit of strength I can, I begin crawling up the stairs. The red river beats against my open wounds, stinging painfully. The simple act of lifting an arm or leg is almost unbearably agonizing. The blood dripping from my lacerated arms mixes with the blood already soaking the tower. So this is the pain Morgana suffered? Do you despise everyone, Morgana? Did your resentment at your mother's betrayal, at the people who came seeking your blood, at the Lord who took your life, turn into a hatred for all mankind? Your perception of me is still incorrect, Michael. My grudge is only against a select few. Think about it, my dear. Of the 1,000 million billions of people living on this planet, my world is comprised of but a minuscule fraction of that. Hatred for all mankind? No, what I feel is not nearly so nebulous. Although, if I had died still believing I was a saint, maybe I wouldn't have such a well-defined mission. Are you saying the Lord didn't kill you? Oh my, did you actually think this was the end of my tale? Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Despite all your big talk, you're still afraid of having to suffer through any more of that, aren't you? But you're the one who said you wouldn't give in. So go on. Know my pain. Without losing your mind. Once again, my surrounding crumble. I have no say. I have no chance to object. Before I'm dragged back to that repulsive banquet. I reach out, stretching my hand as far as it will reach, but all I can grab is darkness. My bloody body sinks back into the abyss. The pain becomes more than just a memory, eroding away at my consciousness. You're a damned witch wearing a saint's skin. Maybe if I had died then, I wouldn't have become the witch you know now. But that's all conjecture. Theorizing about what could have happened is an exercise in futility. But no, I did not die that day. Brought together by constant mistreatment, the Lord's slaves chose that moment to start a revolt. When he swung down his blade, someone bumped into him and it was knocked off its course. I didn't have the strength to get to my feet, so I simply watched the chaos unfold before my hazy eyes. It never even occurred to me that I should try to escape. At some point during the riot, a young man, one of the slaves, grabbed me by my bloody, limp arm and led me out of the Lord's manor. The young man brought me to a slum, a place where people banded together in their hardship, barely scraping together enough to eat every day, let alone pay taxes demanded of them. By the time we had arrived at a small brothel located a ways into the slum, the fog was starting to clear from my mind. I knew where we were, and feeling the graces of those scantily clothed women, I trembled. In a sense, that was possibly the most frightened I have ever been in my life, despite everything else I had been through. The idea that I had fallen so far I would have to become a prostitute scared me to death. After all, I was a saint, and saints were supposed to retain their purity. Spreading my legs for any man who gave me enough coins would shatter my very identity. As all that was going through my mind, I probably shouted "no" in protest, because the slave gave me an exasperated look and told me he hadn't brought me here to become a prostitute. He said he knew someone here, someone I could trust, and that she would give me a room. I had trouble believing him though. I couldn't trust the word of a prostitute, someone who valued money more than her own body. It was all a trap, I was sure. One day, they would tell me I had to work. Nothing he said would convince me otherwise. Apparently sensing my mistrust, the slave gave me an apologetic frown and handed me a mirror, saying, "Even if I did, you wouldn't get any work looking like that." I could not believe what I saw. That couldn't be my face. It had to be an illusion. There was no way. That was not the face of a saint. It couldn't be. It wasn't real. It wasn't possible. Patches of skin had fallen off my face, exposing the raw, red flesh beneath. It looked quite similar to what had been done to my arms and legs, except my face had never been cut before. Looking at my face in the mirror, even I doubted my own sainthood. The thing in my reflection was a hellish abomination. It was the twisted face of a witch. And although I was shocked by what I saw, at the same time, it answered several lingering questions. It explained why the Lord and his guests had panicked at the sight of me, and also explained why he had said I was a witch wearing a saint's skin. Over the course of a dozen banquets I had participated in, my face must have been mutated, twisted into this ugly, sickening, monstrous thing. The sight of what I had become sapped the last bit of willpower from me. Not because I was particularly fond of my face, or thought myself especially beautiful, but because it crushed me to see everything saintly about me crumble away. Test from God or otherwise, I didn't have the strength left to attempt to overcome it. Deciding I would rather be dead than struggle any longer, I begged the slave to kill me. Taking one's life was a sin. If I did that, I would not be able to return my father's side, and I wanted to ask him why I had been put through such tribulation. But the young man refused. He said, completely missing my intention, that if I persevered, good fortune will eventually find me. He said that if I lived on, I would eventually have a chance to get my payback. I had no such worldly concerns though, but if no one would take my life, I had no choice but to live. I despised life at the brothel. The men who came by the service were disgusting buffoons, the kind of people you would think they could deceive God, and the women fawning over them were just as repulsive. That said, I had nowhere else to go, which meant I was forced to suffer that sickening place. By the time a year or so had passed, my feelings about it had changed. The woman of the brothel took good care of me, treating me like a sister. At first, it was irritating. I was a saint, and how could a saint have a prostitute for sisters? But over time, I got to know them better, grew to appreciate their circumstances and hardships. Despite barely having enough money to keep food on the table, whenever they had a little to spare, they would use it to purchase medicine, ointments to apply to my arms, legs, and face. and as a result of their generosity, my arms and legs started to look almost human, but nothing had effect on my face. Occasionally, the slave would drop in to check on me. The other men thought me ghastly and wouldn't get anywhere near me, but he was different. And every time he visited, he would say, "One day I'll show you the world." And to tell you the truth, I was beginning to grow attached to it all. My time at the brothel was probably, all things considered, one of the brighter chapters of my life. There, I was neither saint nor witch, but an ordinary human girl. For the first time, I felt like my life had meaning beyond my assumed divine purpose. I was even beginning to feel kind of happy. And with each passing day, my trackable worldview was gaining a little flexibility. Perhaps I could perform miracles, but that didn't necessarily mean I had to be the daughter of God or a saint. Maybe I was just a regular person who happened to possess some unusual abilities. Ridiculous, isn't it? Despite coming to accept my humanity, I refused to let go of my miraculous powers. They were the last thing protecting what I thought of as myself. But to me at the time, it felt like a very dramatic change of heart. 3 years after the revolt at the Lord Manor, I had my 12th birthday, for which they threw me a little dinner party. The women all pitched in to bake me treats, and the young slave man was there too. I was happy. I saw that if life would continue on like this, I was fine with not going back to being a saint. But for some reason, happiness always seemed to slip away as soon as you got your hands around it. No one sincerely wanted to lose it. So why must they? I certainly didn't mind not being miserable. Let me tell you what happened that night. On the night of my birthday celebration, bandits attacked the brothel. Now, bandits were hardly a rarity in that time, so everyone was always on the lookout and we never went out at night. They wouldn't stop robbing you either. They were armed with blades and would frequently kill their targets if necessary. But cautious as we were helpless against a direct raid. The brothel fell into a panic, screams echoing in the night. The customers were carved up and left for dead. The women were bound and stowed away to be sold. My peaceful world shattered in the instant. And the next thing I knew, I was some slave trader merchandise. I don't know what became of the prostitutes who cared for me or the slave who brought me to them. I assumed the women were sold and the young men slaughtered. But regardless, I found myself being rocked around the back of a carriage once more. The carriage was packed so tight you could barely see the floor, and it smelled like death. Sweat, urine, feces, every foul odor imaginable compressed into a tiny space. There were both men and women there, nearly all of them muttering or groaning or weeping. Everyone was young, ripe to be put to work. It didn't take me long to realize what fate awaited these people, and me. And when I did, I just sat there in silence. Then, for the first time, I cried. I was experiencing, I believe, a very human emotion. I was sad, hurt that I had been taken away from a place where I was happy. From the woman at the brothel and that young man, it crushed me. And no longer did I wonder why such thing was happening to me, to the holy daughter of God. Something about my tears must have seemed strange to him, because one man saw me and said, "Why are you crying?" He was a curious man. To start, he looked very different from anyone else. The color of his skin, the length of his nose, the shape of his eyes, everything about him was new and unusual. Hesitantly, I replied, "I'm sad because I didn't get the chance to show my gratitude to people very dear to me." The man fell silent, looking as though he was in thought. I had no idea why he asked me that, but something about him made me uncomfortable, so I couldn't bring myself to ask. Several hours later, the man suddenly stood up. The guards had no patience for anyone stepping out of line, and it didn't look like they would hesitate to kill us either. So unsurprisingly, one at the back of the carriage drew his sword and pointed it at the man. That was surprising, though, what was happened next. The man, his hands were shackled like the rest of us, leapt for the guard, slamming his fist into his face and stealing the sword. The entire carriage was in shock. The guards were too stunned to effectively react, so they were quickly cut down. And because the one-man uprising had taken place between cities, there was no one the slave traders could ask for help before they were slaughtered. In a blink of an eye, it was all over, and there was nothing human about what I had witnessed. If I had to describe it, I would say it was as though a wild beast had attacked. The man ruffled through the slave traders' clothes until, oh my god, clothes until he found the keys, which brought me to me, ordering I unshackle him. So, he's the beast is his reincarnation, and so I did as he commanded. Once they had enough time to process what had happened, the would-be slave applauded. The wretched soul had been saved, and for a moment I believed so too. When the man's hands were free, he rolled his shoulders a couple of times, made sure everything was in place, and then he began his massacre. Screams of agony filled the carriage as he ran his sword through the helpless men and women packed inside it. Blood and guts were splattered against every surface, and those who tried to escape did not get far before being mercilessly skewered. It was like a scene out of a nightmare. I was frozen in place, not out of fear, but because my mind had shut down. I couldn't make sense of what was happening, so my mind rejected it. And with my brain having given up, my body was no more than a lifeless puppet. So it is the beast. In short order, all the slaves were dead, and I was sitting in a pool of blood staring at the man. He pointed his blade at me, and with a little smirk said, "Why didn't you run?" In turn I asked, "Why did you kill them?" The smile vanished from his face, and after a few quiet moments of pondering, he replied, "Because I felt like it." "And why haven't you killed me yet?" I asked. To which he gave a curt, "I don't know," then withdrew his blade and wandered off into the distance. And then I was all alone, surrounded by corpses. I glanced down, and half of someone's face was looking back up at me. Jesus, man. Holy, okay, so this was the beast. The original, wrapped in absolute darkness. Warm blood spills onto my cheeks, my hair, my skin. Chunks of human flesh rain down on me. Make it stop, ugh. There's no end to the deluge. The smell of death filled the air. I'm struck with a wave of nausea so strong I can't hold back the contents of my stomach. But when my mouth opens to vomit, blood pours into it. Ooh. Let go of me. Dead bodies grab at my ankles, dragging me down. To where? Hell or the mountain of corpses? Now, do you understand that there was a time, if but briefly, when I was happy, when I felt human emotion? But I wish I never had. If I had remained confined in my Daughter of God shell, then I doubt I would have felt so much terror at the sight of death. I can't say anything in response. I can't form words. I feel what she experienced, the massacre she witnessed, the limp flesh piling up around her. Even more than twice her age, it's enough to drive me mad. The fact that a 12-year-old had to experience something so unspeakable devastates me. Tell me, my dear, do you pity me? Do you sympathize with me? If you feel bad for me, then you'll remain with me. You'll feel my pain and despair with me, won't you? The witch cackle echoes through the pile of bodies. There's not a speck of light, and the hideous death lingers everywhere. Helpless to resist, I'm dragged down into a deep, dark ocean, an ocean of blood. And that would be the end of today's video. And man, what a episode this was. Holy, we started to get a bit of the witch background. We only just started. We're just scratching the surface, I'm sure of it. But yeah, already it was incredible. We understood who the beast was, finally. I mean, the original one. So I guess she placed a curse upon him. And now we're gonna get to see the rest of the story in the next episodes. And yeah, I cannot wait. Honestly, it seems incredible. I just really want to know what these three men did to her in the first place, to know why they were cursed and how, because I really want to wait until this entire story unravels and we learn the truth. But yeah, that's all for now. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.